Jayesh, we have with us today Captain Ashok B. Shirur. Sir served with the air defense for 5 odd years and then has been in the cybersecurity industry for last 3 odd decades. He has his own business venture by the name of Micros, and Sir has been a service provider, or so as to say, information security and cyber security vendor to a lot of large organizations, Fortune 500 companies, public sector undertakings, etc. Today, we are going to discuss with him, if you are wanting to be a cybersecurity professionals, how to approach this career track or this function, cybersecurity as a profession, from the service provider or from the vendor side of the industry. So not just being on the principal side, but also what it takes, and what are the typical career contours if you're on the vendor side. And Sir has 3 decades of rock solid experience in not just the domain, but also on this particular aspect of the industry. So we'll be gaining from him on this aspect. So welcome to today's discussion.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening and thank you.
So my first question would be, what are the typical tasks that a cyber or an information security professional as a service provider or as a vendor would perform for their clients?
Cybersecurity professionals, when working for service providers, they often would perform a whole range of tasks to help clients secure their digital assets, protect sensitive information, and mitigate risks associated with cyber threats. So the specific task can vary based on the nature of the engagement, the client's industry, the services offered by the cybersecurity provider. But if we were to sort of enlist some of them, so number one would be, say, vulnerability assessments. So conducting assessments to identify vulnerabilities in a client system, in their networks, in their applications. This would be using tools, this would be using different methodologies to uncover potential weaknesses that could be exploited by attackers. Then coming up with a report for it. Then penetration testing, performing controlled and ethical hacking based exercises to simulate real life scenarios of an actual cyber attack. The goal of this exercise would be to identify and exploit the vulnerabilities in a client's network, or in their systems or in their applications, to assess the effectiveness of the security measures. Either the security measures or maybe also the incident response plan. Then there would be security audits and compliance assessments. So in order for you to give a sense of the current state of security, the organized security policies, procedures, and controls would need to get audited to ensure compliance to the defined policy, and also to define compliance to the industry regulations and the standards. Now, this may also include the need to provide any kinds of recommendations or improvements to the existing policy. Then there could be an incident response charter. So if there is an incident, assisting the client in responding and managing the security incident, like say a data breach or a cyber attack. This includes not only recovering from it, but also the investigating the incident, containing the damage, and then implementing remediation measures. It could be a very comprehensive subject. Then training, security awareness training, developing and delivering training programs to educate the employees, to educate the users about cybersecurity best practices. This sort of creates a security aware culture in the organization and reduces the possible risk of social engineering attacks. Then security architecture design, assessing and assisting in the designing of the security architecture itself for the systems, for the networks, for the applications. This would involve recommending the security controls, recommending the encryption methodologies, and also the access management strategies. Then the security policy development. Development, also the review. Like I mentioned earlier, it's important that once the security policy is designed, there also is a constant routine review of those policies to ensure that they stay abreast of the requirement based on changing scenarios, changing technologies, etc., etc. Then endpoint security. So implementing and managing security measures for endpoints including anti-malware solutions, EPP solutions, encryption solutions, MDM solutions, etc., etc. Then network security. So that would mean configuring and managing UTMs, configuring management, IDS, IPS solutions, configure and managing other network security controls that protect against unauthorized access or other kinds of malicious activities. Then it could be managing the identity piece, the IAM, the PIM or the PAM, managing it. Then the SIEM, managing the output from the SIEM, configuring the SIEM to ensure that it is correctly collating the logs and giving the expected response and the suggestions on mitigating different kinds of threats that are being identified early. Encryption of information, ensuring process and policies to ensure the encryption of sensitive data on the network, whether it is in transit, whether it is at rest. This could be which encryption algorithm to use or which key management solution to use. Then cloud security, because today a large percentage of organization would be using the cloud as the infrastructure for delivery of services. So then security of the cloud, assessing it, enhancing it, ensuring that that doesn't become one of the increased attack services where there is a possibility of an information security outage. Then regular security reporting, there may be a mandate to report on the various possible security incidents that are happening in the network, the kind of ticketing that is happening, the kind of work that is being done to mitigate different kinds of security incidents. And lastly would be the collaboration and the communication between the system integrator and the customer. Engaging in ongoing communication with the customer to understand their evolving security needs, providing guidance on the emerging threats, and offering proactive recommendations for continuous improvement, for continuous preparedness.
Right. So that's a very long list of tasks, or so as to say, the services which vendors or service providers can offer to different organizations. My question would be, sir, let's say you are to give career advice to a services officer transiting from the uniform to cybersecurity profession. What would be your reasons to say that instead of working for a principal, the officer should work for a vendor? I mean, to make it more pointed, let's say I have two job offers. One is from Amazon as a cybersecurity manager. Another one is from a vendor who provides services to Amazon. Why would you say that I should go and work with a vendor instead of Amazon in the cybersecurity domain?
See, this is a very personal call that an officer would need to take, depending on what is it that he wants to do. So let me give you a very interesting example of someone I work with. He's not an employee. He's one of our external consultants. He helps us with finance and audit, finance and accounts related consulting. Now he was offered a job, and incidentally, this job was with HCL at a time when HCL was a very, very large and very predominant organization in the information technology space. He's not a chartered accountant. He's a commerce graduate. Job was to write checks, right? From morning to evening, his job was to write checks to ensure that there were no errors in the checks and correct checks went out to whoever the checks had to be delivered to. Now, in a large organization, in a structured organization, you become one cog in the overall scheme of things, and you would do one specialized tasks. And like you have, like the horses have those blinders on their side, you would become a master of that one role. You would become a master of, like in his case, he would become a check writer. He would become an excellent check writer. His handwriting would improve. He would never make a mistake. He would put processes, policies to ensure that there's never an error in the checks that he writes, etc., etc. But would he know anything more about finance and accounts? Maybe not. Does he get exposure to the various other aspects of finance and accounts which help him evolve into a larger, more well-rounded finance professional? Maybe not. So he said no to the job with HCL, and he went and joined a small company which was into a totally different business, which was not very prominent like HCL. So where I wanted to give that example from is, it is very dependent upon the officer, his mindset. Now, there are a lot of people who say that, no, I would like to be a cog in the overall scheme of things. I don't want to be at the forefront. I don't want to have to bear the kind of responsibilities or the challenges that would take at the forefront. I would rather be one small piece in the overall scheme of things. Now, for those kinds of people, yes, a large organization may be a good base to go ahead with. But if there is someone who still has fire in the belly, if someone says, I would like to do far more than what a limiting organization would offer as an opportunity, then there is a need to look at the smaller organizations, the organizations that are into more engagement.
Okay. I would further split the question into sub questions in specific parts. What would be your recommendation? I mean, if you can qualify your recommendation based on the age and service tenure of transitioning officers. So, for a 10-year-old short service officer, age be 35 to 38 years and experience be 10 years. Second bracket is the officers who are coming out on voluntary release at around 45 years of age with 22 years of experience. And then the superannuating ones who are coming out typically 54 plus, depending on the arm, 54, 56, 58, with 30 years of experience. What would be a more satisfying professional engagement? Would it be on the vendor side or on the principal side? And you can be subjective, and that's okay, sir. I want to hear your opinion about it. I am not a correct answer. I want your opinion on this.
Right. So let's look at it from a from an adaptability or a malleability perspective. If we talk about the first set of officers that you refer to, 35 to 38 years short service officers, short service officers, they would typically be in the mid-career phase of their respective careers, and they can actually leverage their adaptability, their learning agility, to quickly acquire new skills in the information security leadership space. And since they already have leadership experience, they can position themselves in leadership roles within information security teams. So it's possibly a very, very good fit because of their agility, their adaptability to the change. But if we come to 44 to 47 years of age officers, these officers already have 20, 25 years of service, and they bring extensive leadership and strategic thinking capabilities with them. So they are best suited for senior management roles in the information security space. So they would rather get into mentorship or guidance based roles rather than the frontline roles or the active interaction engagement based role. They would get into the mentorship and guidance roles, where they can mentor junior team members, and they can contribute to the development of strong information security teams. And they can look at strategic roles, either in security management, in risk assessment, strategic planning, etc., etc. But if we go to the superannuating officers, who have already put in, say, all their lives into the services, they have extensive senior leadership experience. So they become suitable for executive level roles. So they would have policy and governance expertise. So they may have they would be excellent at developing policies, which would be valuable for organizations aiming to enhance their cybersecurity governance. It would be a much larger role, like a chief information security officer or a director of information security kind of a role, where that amount of exposure, the experience, and the breadth of understanding would be able to get best use.
Thank you so much for all this advice, sir. I believe that officers who are transitioning and if they wish to look at cybersecurity as a career, your advice is going to help them a lot, sir.